the moment. And we are rolling on June 8th. Well, believe it or not, it's part 3 of our discussion of... Can you pull that chair back there? It's really ugly up the picture. And that one too, yeah. Part 3 of our discussion on climate change. And we're about to hear from Leonard. Leonard, enlighten us.
Hi, my name is Leo.
Wait, Leonard. Sorry, Leonard. I need my score sheet. Come on. Yeah. Leonard Skinnerd, where are you? Are you on this sheet?
I believe so. It might be under Leo or Leonard.
Oh, Leo.
My name wasn't on that.
Leo Yang, yeah.
Yeah, that should be me.
How'd that happen?
I don't know.
Are you enrolled in the class?
On the Excel sheet that you sent, me and Ascania were the first to go, and then you called Sabera, and then I looked on the sheet, and we both went on there.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I got
I'm gonna have to yell at my TA because he made this for me from that schematic. So he cut off 2 people. 1, 2. Who'd he cut off?
Me and Ascania.
Ascania and you. What's your name?
Lauren.
Lauren Hutton. Lauren. Cut off. Okay. Okay, I'll let him know. He likes to be perfect, so I'll let him know when he isn't. I let him know when he isn't. Yeah. Okay. All right. You go by Leo, right?
Yeah.
Leo the Lion. Rock and roll, sir.
Hi, my name is Leo, and I'm a climate skepticist. Here's why. I come from a home of conspiracy theories. My grandpa, who raised me, believes pretty much everything from President Obama's fake birth certificate to thinking that lizard people run the government. As a result of this upbringing, I question everything I hear, and I'm extremely skeptical until I see irrefutable evidence firsthand.
Excellent.
Climate change is no different. Since the very first time I heard of the phenomenon known as global warming, I have doubted all of the pro-climate change views my friends have tried to shove down my throat. Coming into this class, I was what many of you would call a climate denier. I knew a lot about disasters and other events that were supposedly caused by global warming, but the evidence was never enough to convince me. On top of that, my grandpa told me more than a couple times that global warming is a lie created by Western democracies to stop growth in third world countries.
You got it.
While that didn't really persuade me, it was enough to make me wonder just how true other claims were. After listening to many well-prepped debates, it was enough to make me... the one thing I noticed is that debates didn't question the existence of global warming... global warming is past. Instead, these debates fostered critical thinking and really made me believe in global warming from 2 to 3:50 every Tuesday and Thursday. But just as soon as I got out of class, I started to think extremely skeptically about everything I had just heard. Through extensive research and preparation for my own debate, I found from the European Union that 64% of all greenhouse... Oh wait, I forgot that the European Union is not credible. During my debate, I got to hear Louis and Athena's compelling arguments, and that got me thinking, is there more to global warming than CO2? Louis, after you told me that methane from the cattle industry was way more harmful than CO2, I don't think I've eaten a burger since. In terms of passing a policy that reduces man-made carbon emissions, I think that's still the best way to mitigate global warming threats. And hey, even if global warming is not real, at least we made the Earth a cleaner place. Last thing, if these 9 debates have taught me anything, it's this. I may not be willing to believe everything you say, but I am willing to debate it with you.
1 minute.
Before I came here, I didn't believe anything I heard about climate change. This class changed my mind. I still think global warming isn't as big a threat as some of the more important issues we need to address, like world hunger or extreme poverty, but I believe global warming is real. Finally, I'd like to leave you all with a quote by Canadian pro-climate change scientist David Suzuki. Education has failed in a very serious way to convey the most important lesson science can teach: skepticism. We live in a world where the media propagates global warming theory as irrefutable fact. Those who believe it are praised, and those who are not are bullied into submission. It's time that changes, and the change starts with us.
Excellent. Thank you. Leo, where are you on here? Okay. Oh, there you're down there. Okay. Oh, I see. We're going out of order. Yeah. Is your grandfather self-educated, or was he mythic figure, or
I don't know. I mean, he's just He's a chef in Taiwan, so
he's a shepherd.
A chef. So probably no actual education.
Well, we don't need to put down chefs. I come from a family of farmers. So I come from Nebraska, but there's an honesty to working on the earth or working in jobs like that. But I just went because I've met in traveling around the world, I've met a lot of bright people that didn't go to college and that read a lot of books that are self-educated.
I think
but he sounds like some of the things he said, especially the thing about keeping the third world from developing all the resources they're sitting on. Your grandfather is not the only person that said that. The head of Greenpeace, on. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just distrust of the government that's sort of turned him that way.
Well, there's that can never be given out in too large a quantity, as you know. I'm a believer in the more local the government, closer to the people, the better. I'm skeptical about those things in distant Washington that are going on.
Definitely.
Okay, well, thank you, Leo. Okay, who has the next big emergency? That would be Lewis. Also, you go by Louis, right?
Yeah, but kept the S because it confuses everyone.
Okay. So I called you Lewis, and then no one answered because you answered a Louis.
I answered
Just don't call me late for dinner, right?
Yeah. No, I'm never late for dinner.
Okay, good.
But we need it, guys.
Good. Okay, good. All right, good. All right, Louis. Is the timer ready?
All right.
Cool. Rock and roll, Louis.
Hi, my name's Louis.
Hi, Louis.
Hello. Prior to this class, I would say I was very much a climate alarmist. And for this class, I was given the debate topic, which begged the question, is reducing carbon emissions a good policy for mitigating the threats of global warming? I was assigned to the opposition of this debate. However, I would say personally, in terms of my personal views, I was more on the pro-government side of this debate. And after going through this debate, I have come to the conclusion that the best policy, though, is not just to reduce carbon emissions, but also to reduce methane emissions. So I began my research process by going through the UCLA research database, and what I discovered is that nitrous oxide and methane are actually huge players in global warming. They trap far more heat in the atmosphere than carbon. Athena and I decided to use this as the basis for our debate, arguing that on balance, the heat-trapping abilities of these gases outweighs the quantity of carbon. And I think it worked pretty well in the end. The debate ended in a tie, but Sam broke that tie in our favor. Ultimately, I think the debate was really close for a couple of reasons. First, I think that Leo and Daniel did a great job outlining a strong policy with clear solvency, while we failed to have clear solvency in our argument. Meanwhile, I think that our strength lied in our delivery. I think we were really strong during our cross-examination, during our arguments. Also, as Leo mentioned, we were able to discredit one of his key sources. After participating in this debate, though, I've come to the conclusion that not just reducing carbon would be a good policy, but reducing methane emissions as well if we hope to reduce some of these threats of global warming. First, I think Daniel and Leo did a great job reaffirming in my mind that carbon's a key player in global warming. I think that their outlined carbon tax would be very effective at addressing this. Again, just to remind you guys, this would entail taxing people at the gas pump, which would raise gas prices and encourage people to rely on public transportation, on carpools, and this tax could be reinvested in green technology. Meanwhile, from my own argument, Athena and I, our argument actually, I've come to the conclusion that reducing methane would also be a good policy, and I think the best place to do this is in the oil sector. I outlined this proposal in class, but I think that instituting key regulations on the gas companies is a necessity. First, I think that we need to force gas companies to disclose their methane leaks and require them to fix methane leaks, and this can only be done through strict regulations. All in all, in the end, I would say I'm still a key climate alarmist. However, I think that I've grown to have a broader view on the topic, and that now I believe that not just reducing carbon is a good policy for reducing the threats of global warming, but also addressing methane is necessary. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Louis. real quick, since the next person, who's going next? Is it you? Okay, go next. Louis, just some feedback for you on your delivery. You're not breathing when you communicate it, and so you're short of breath, and your voice would be much louder if you would take in deep breaths. And have you had a comm class of any type, like comm one or
comm one?
You had comm one,
Yeah.
So maybe I give a class called Extemporaneous Impromptu Speaking. Maybe that would help you. 103, but your voice is very tight and it's your breathing. So I just wanted to mention that to you. Okay, so work on breathing when you're speaking. Yeah. Okay. Good. Let's rock and roll. Thank you, Louis.
Okay, I give it to you, right?
Yeah, I have this. Yeah. Daniel, my brother.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Bye, so long.
Yeah, the people I reference here are not here. So. Ready?
Okay, Daniel, I gotta change the camera. Oh, shit. Oh, sorry. Shoot. Whew. Come on, Betsy. Don't die on me now. I'm sorry. The tripod is acting up. Okay, now it's not.
Need something to balance it on?
Excuse me, moi?
Is it fine now?
No.
Oh.
I could just hold it too.
I'm good. This is crazy. Okay. Yeah. Begin, Daniel, my brother.
So roses are red, violets are blue. Climate change is real, and it's a pretty big deal. I've run out of rhymes, sorry to waste your time. I can't really poetically preach. So back to my regularly scheduled speech. So coming into the class, I was a firm believer in climate change and pro-environmental policies. And after 9 debates, that belief remains the same. Nobody actually really disputed the existence of climate change. So I ended up learning more about climate change and having some of my beliefs reinforced. And after listening to all 3 fact debates, 3 of my beliefs were reaffirmed. Climate change is man-made. Climate change can cause some extreme weather events in some instances, and we can predict climate change's impact through models. And with the fact established, the next question I had in mind was basically how important of an issue is climate change? And that was answered through 3 value debates. The first value debate showed me all the economical and environmental concerns. And then in the second value debate, Jen over here, who's not here right now, showed me that at least climate change is at the very least is dangerous. So that in and of itself, it warrants action and policy. Mm-hmm. And that led perfectly into the next debate, which involved politics. And through that debate, Alan solidified my belief that scientists do need to be involved in politics so they can have a say. And speaking of policy, after having my own debate and listening to the other policy debate, it's pretty obvious that carbon emissions and fossil fuels are a huge problem. And there's also no doubt as to what the solution is to those problems, which is renewable energy. So anyways, after 10 weeks of class, climate change has become clear to me. And before this class, I'll admit, I used to hide behind the 97% of scientists believe, blah, 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 and just run away from debate.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. And, after acquiring knowledge of both sides of the issue, that's pretty much impossible. And although my opinion hasn't changed, my willingness to debate for it has. And my stance on climate change was not strengthened by what I already knew or what I heard about, but rather what stood the test of refutation. And in the end, I learned from not what was black and white was obvious, but rather the gray area. And so to sum up, roses are red, violets are blue. Climate change is real, and it's a pretty big deal. We need to act now, and we already know how. So let's enact some policy and embark on our environmental odyssey. We'll be in a bad position if we don't bring some ambition. So let's start by lowering carbon emissions and bring a renewable energy transition. We need to take more than caution because failure is not an option. Our lives are on the line. So let's protect our earthly shrine. Thank you.
Our Earthly Shrine. Thank you so much, and thank you for being so creative. I really appreciate the poetry.
I'll bring one next week.
It was nice. It was a nice, nice way to end. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Dan. Are you gonna stick around for the others? Good. Thank you. That's polite. Okay. Would it be your turn? Yes, it would be. How do you say your name?
Kyra?
Kai.
Kyra. Like
Kai.
but
Ra. Kyra. Hang on just a minute. I think someone's calling me. Sam may be trying to page me. No, he's not. So I'll say, I cannot take this call. Thank you. Okay. Kyra?
hi, I'm Kyra.
Wait. You're a different size than Danielle. Okay, good. Begin.
Okay, so I'm Kyra.
Hi, Kyra.
And initially, when this class began, I really didn't want to be in the policy group because I don't know the first thing about crafting policy, and I thought it sounded more technical and difficult than fact or value. But I realize now that for those same reasons, ironically, being in policy was the most rewarding and interesting to research, especially having our topic, which was fracking. So fracking was something I didn't know a whole lot about before this class, but now after having done so much research and participating in the debate with Jason, Matana, and Ashley, I can say with a lot of certainty now that I think fracking should be banned, but I think it should be banned gradually. The reason I think it should be banned is because there really are too many health risks associated with fracking. All the air and water pollutants, the toxic chemicals, the carcinogens, all of these are a huge risk to the health of the workers who work on fracking sites and the residents who are unfortunate enough to live near them. So I definitely think fracking should be banned. However, I think it should be banned gradually and not all at once. I think banning all fracking activity at once risks skyrocketing oil and gas prices, which would make it incredibly difficult on people who are so used to living in a nation that relies so heavily on fossil fuels already. And it would make it especially difficult on lower income families who would have a hard time making the transition from fossil fuels to the more expensive alternatives like clean energy. So I think the ban should happen gradually. And I think it can happen gradually because, as I've learned through my own research and the research shared by our opponents, Ashley and Matana, fracking does have environmental benefits compared to other fossil fuels like coal. So fracking does use considerably less water, and it has considerably fewer carbon dioxide emissions. So I think we could survive gradually getting rid of it instead of getting rid of it all at once. I think that
1 minute.
we should close fracking sites near residential areas first, and fracking sites that have especially dangerous working conditions for its workers. This is so we can protect people and keep them and their health as safe as possible. And from there, slowly wean the U.S. off of fossil fuels and towards clean energy. So to summarize, I think fracking should be banned just to keep people's health safe, but it should be banned gradually to ensure that nobody gets left behind.
Thank you, Kyra. Very nice. This is one of the reasons I used to allow people to choose, their top, their fact value policy area, but you can begin going up there. You can, Daniel, borrow your Apple telephone? Yeah. But I found that people go kicking and screaming, but they learn something even when they think, "Oh my God, I hate policy." But unlike values, which are sort of in the clouds many times, in my judgment, just privately between you and me, the real debate is not whether it exists or not, but what to do about it and how soon to act. And what do we do in the transition? And fracking gives us natural gas, as you know. So if we're going to use we've used natural gas to reduce our carbon footprint significantly more than anybody else in the world. So we can't be so down on fracking. And I think your moderate approach is refreshing. Thank you. Okay. We are ready. Are you ready, sir? Yeah.
Alrighty. Hi, I'm Lauren. So the
Hi.
policy.
I have it. Sorry, Lauren.
You're good.
Hi, Lauren.
Okay. So the policy resolution that I debated on was whether or not the U.S. should unilaterally reduce CO2, regardless of whether countries such as China, India, and other developing nations also cooperated. I was on the government side, so we were arguing that we should take a unilateral approach versus a multilateral one, such as the Paris Agreement. Originally, before coming into this class and doing all the research on this debate, I honestly felt pretty uneducated about climate change, as well as kind of Kyra said, I was kind of skeptical about going in under a policy debate. However, during this policy resolution, as well as just through this whole group process, I learned a lot of things. One of them was that I should really critically think and question arguments that are placed before me. And the second thing was that during this whole process, it really influences my beliefs and knowledge on what policies I believe should be in place to help fix this large issue that is climate change. One of the most important things I learned from this process was that I should not just readily believe or accept solutions that are just placed before me, and instead I should really critically think about them. Just because a solution is widely accepted doesn't necessarily mean it has no problems at all. So before the debate, I kind of had two main beliefs. One of them was I actually believe that countries should work together in order to have a larger impact on CO2 reductions, which actually went against the argument that I was supposed to side with. And secondly, I also didn't quite see how the benefits outweighed the cost of using a unilateral approach when reducing CO2, since this is a global issue. And I actually believe that policies such as the Paris Agreement were more beneficial. However, after the debate and going through all of the research, I realized that there are actually multiple ways that we can greatly reduce CO2, and obviously they all come with their pros and cons. So I realized that multilateral policies such as the Paris Agreement have potential to greatly reduce CO2. However, it is non-binding and can come at a great economic cost to the U.S. However, I also do realize that unilateral policies such as the carbon fee and dividend plan that we brought up in our debate, although may logically be proven to be beneficial, might fall short of some of its promises of fully reducing CO2. So, like I stated before, this debate also really shaped my current beliefs of what policies I believe should be put in place to reduce CO2. Now, since this is a global issue, I still do believe that countries should work together to globally reduce CO2. However, I do not believe that a non-binding agreement, such as the Paris Agreement, will fully do the job. So I personally believe that we need a binding global agreement that will force multiple countries to implement a policy such as a carbon fee and dividend plan in order to constantly motivate and hold these countries accountable to reduce their CO2 while also kind of maintaining and growing a global economy. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Very nice. Okay. I thought that was a reasoned approach too. Thank you. Okay, well, thank you folks for accommodating me and coming over here. That was kind of you. And that leaves us only with 1, 2, 3 to do finals day. So that's good. And I think one person, this girl, actually is going to do it in my office later. So that will be even... Leave 2.
Alrighty, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye. Be well.
Bye.
Bye.
Stop it, please.